Today, we have a special anniversary segment for you. It's the 40th anniversary of the 1969 Cuyahoga River Fire. The Cuyahoga River Fire sparked the environmental movement around the nation. On June 22, 1969, sparks from a nearby train landed on the river, and because of the amount of pollution in the water, the river caught fire. Even though it was put out in 30 minutes, there was reported to be about $50,000 worth of damages, including $45,000 from the destruction of the bridge owned by Norfolk and Western Railway Company, and $5,000 from the Newburgh and South Shore Railway Bridge. There had been 13 reported fires on the Cuyahoga, but this fire really alerted people to the troubles plaguing the river because it was one of the last river fires. The reporting of the fire was controversial because photos were posted and marketed as photos of the 1969 fire, but in reality, no pictures were taken. The photos that were marketed were taken of one of the other fires that occurred on the Cuyahoga. The fire showed, according to 2011 EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson, the almost unimaginable health and environmental threats from water pollution of the time, and the river was even described as an open sewer by the mayor. The fire sparked over $3.5 billion to be put towards the purification of the river and the development of new sewer systems. Citizens started becoming much more involved in environmental issues and pushed for Congress to pass the Federal Clean Water Act, which they did in 1972. Before the infamous 1969 fire, progress to prevent river fires was fairly slow, and the fire was a reminder of how things had been and reinforced the need for continued progress. And now for a brief history of our local waterways.
The Anacostia has a watershed that stretches 176 miles, touching points in D.C., Prince George's County, and Montgomery County. The Anacostia is part of the Potomac's watershed, and some have said the most important part of the Potomac's reach. The Anacostia, before it was called the Forgotten River, has been tied to Native Americans by historians, most saying that the people lived on that river for nearly 10,000 years. In the 1600s, when the English colonized, they stopped using the river. The tobacco fields that were built on the side of the Anacostia would have tobacco run off into the river, and most historians say that is where this started the pollution of the Forgotten River. On the other side of D.C., the Potomac is considered D.C.'s queen. Due to its location being in a more prominent neighborhood, the Potomac has received more of a glamour angle when talking about it, but the truth is it isn't much better. The Potomac feeds over 6 million homes in the DMV area. Mount Vernon was located right along the river, as was the Chesapeake, Ohio Canal that was built along the river, even if the canal stopped being used by the 1920s. The Potomac is still polluted, but because it's in a higher class area than the Anacostia, it has received a lot more help and aid from the people. The Great Falls, located upstream of the Potomac, was meant to be a great big port for years to come when colonizers came to the New World, but they soon realized that the rapids were too hard to navigate and has now become a place for Washingtonians to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. And now to Chloe, the newest member of our team, to take samples from a stream right outside Great Falls.
Oh, thanks Alyssa. Now we're going to test the water. We put it in and we have to tilt it up to make sure there's no air bubbles. See the bubbles? That's not good. We put this in face up, smush all the air out, and we've got our water. We're waiting for the dissolved oxygen test to settle. Christina here is testing the temperature of the waters.
We're now filling this test tube to 10 millimeters so we can test the phosphates in the water.
The phosphate reducing reagent in order to test the phosphate levels in this water. We are trying to shuffle in order to get all the invertebrates into our net so we can examine them. I brought our TV host along with us so we can see, and our news reporter, so we brought everyone on live action. And now we shuffle. It's moving, it's alive! Christina.
Hi Chloe, what can I help you with today?
Well, I spent the whole day in the field doing tests, but I'm not really sure what any of the information will tell us about water quality.
Well, when you were in the field, you ran many tests on dissolved oxygen, turbidity, phosphates, nitrates, temperature, total dissolved solids, and pH. The stream's dissolved oxygen levels were at 3.6 milligram per liter, which only a few fish and aquatic insects can survive in.
Does that mean the river's not healthy?
Well, not necessarily.
But won't that affect the trophic level in the water? The amount of dissolved oxygen can affect the primary producers because they can't produce as much nutrients, that they don't have oxygen to turn into nutrients. And without the nutrients, the consumers who eat the producers can't get enough nutrients.
That is true, but dissolved oxygen is only one of many bioindicators. For example, we also see that the pH level is at 6.75, which is in the preferred range of 6.5 to 8 for the largest variety of freshwater organisms.
Trophic structure, plants, primary producers use nitrate to build protein, and animals, consumers that eat plants, also use organic nitrogen to build protein.
Natural levels of nitrate in water are usually less than 1 milligram per liter, which is what selective fish like salmon can survive in. Less selective fish can live in water with higher nitrate levels, but concentrations over 10 milligrams per liter will have an effect on the freshwater aquatic environment. But the levels in your stream were at about 8.2 milligrams per liter, which is survivable for less selective fish. But selective fish like salmon would never be able to survive in those conditions.
If the natural nitrate level in water is less than 1 milligram per liter, then how are the levels in the stream so high?
Natural levels of nitrates enter the stream through natural sources like decomposing plants and animal waste. However, human sources like sewage or fertilizer can also enter the stream, and that is why nitrate levels can be so high.
I understand that sewage can enter water depending on the type of sewer system in the area, but how does fertilizer enter the water?
To answer that, let's go back to Alyssa to learn more about how to prevent pollution in your community.
Thanks, Chloe. To improve the health of your local river, there's a lot you can do. Limit the use of fertilizers and pesticides, and make sure you dispose of paints and chemicals properly. You should wash cars on surfaces that can absorb water so it can re-enter the river more easily, and you should avoid littering. Make sure you pick up trash if you see it on the ground, and if possible, plant rain gardens. Just doing these small things can greatly contribute to improving your local watershed.